Hey guys, welcome to Total Health Live with Dr. Sedano. I am Dr. Nick Sedano and I am so thrilled you are here today with us. And we are approaching Christmas this holiday season, and for many of you, you are getting stressed out of your mind, and that's really what this whole seminar is about today, is stress, really what it does to you. How does it affect your immune system? How does it make you sick? What are the secrets behind it? And really what we can do to combat it, what we can do to get around it. Because I'll tell you what, if you're like me and you've got, whether it be job deadlines or whether you've got a boss that's driving you crazy. Now, fortunately, I'm self-employed, so if anybody's going to drive me crazy, it will be me. But maybe you've got a corporate job and you're just out of your mind. Maybe you've got kids that are driving you crazy. Maybe you've got a spouse that's making you crazy. Maybe you're just not taking care of yourself where you're not eating properly and you've got a lot of chemical stresses in your body. So if you're stressed out, maybe you've got in-laws visiting, I don't know. If you're stressed out, then this seminar is for you. So please let some friends know, get some other people on the line too. I'm gonna make sure that my phone is on so I can check any questions that you might have. So please ask away, and I'm gonna make sure I get all your questions answered. And if you happen to watch this at a later date, then go ahead and put questions into the comment bar, and I will make sure I get them answered later on also. So once again, thanks for being on today. And like I said, if stress is something you're experiencing, which I'll tell you what, I don't know of anybody in our society today that isn't stressed out. If you've got post-election stress disorder, this seminar is for you. If you're worried about what's going on around the world with all the different attacks and bombings or ISIS and terrorism, then this is for you, because we're all exposed to this. We can't get away from it. And what's a shame is our kids are exposed to it. I remember growing up as a kid, the worst thing I used to worry about was maybe what was going on in a baseball game or if a Little League game or a football game. Maybe occasionally my mom got me nervous where she told me, to watch out for drug dealers and drug pushers, that they would get you. And so I was always very anti-drug as a kid, but that was my biggest worries. My biggest threat was, or maybe who's got better baseball cards than I did. But our kids today are just so stressed because of all the things they're seeing on TV, and everything is happening so real time now. It's like you're in the war, you're in there happening, and it's right in our faces and our TVs just right away, so there's really no delay. And with all the media and social media, even more. I mean, my kids are doing Snapchat and Instagram, and they're getting these notifications like literally like that. So this is something we can't get away from. So stress is a monster that we've got to tackle. If not, it's going to virtually kill us from the inside out. So I'm not trying to stress you out about the stress talk, but it's just that important. So please, if you like what we talk about here, like it, but more importantly, share it, because there's a lot of people that you may know that can really benefit from this. So let's dive right into it. So basically, if you were all of a sudden exposed or attacked by a bear, let's just say you're going down to the river, you're taking a nice hike, and you're walking down by the river, and you go to splash a little water in your face, maybe to cool off, and next thing you know, you look up over your shoulder, and you've got a grizzly bear standing right there. I mean, what happens? What's the first thing that happens? Well, it's an amazing thing, and we're going to get into the mechanisms in just a moment, but your body perceives a stress, it perceives a stimulus, it perceives a threat. So immediately, it starts to go into the fight or flight response. So your body starts to secrete cortisol and insulin. It starts to dump cholesterol into your bloodstream. It starts to raise your heart rate. Your legs get oxygenated, your muscles get oxygenated. You're ready to run, you're ready to fight, you're ready to escape. Or, maybe like we're told to do is play dead, I don't know, but you're going to do something, and your body is immediately sprung into action faster than you can possibly imagine. So the stimulus comes into your brain, and like I said, we're going to get into the mechanism of that in just a moment, but it's immediately sending signals out to your body. Now, if we took a snapshot of this at that exact moment, you might look at it and say, wow, my cholesterol is high, I've got high cholesterol in my bloodstream, I've got high cortisol, stress hormone, my pulse is up, I'm a wreck. I would, on a lab result look like terrible, like I was on death's door. But this is our body's normal response. And the response is immediate and it's reactionary. We don't want to have to stop and think about what we're going to do, so it's more reflex than anything else. So how this works inside of our body is something called the HPA stress response, or the HPA axis. And I know a lot of you haven't heard about this, but you're going to hear about maybe some of the different organs that I know you've heard about that are associated with this. So like I said, the first thing is your brain perceives a stimulus. And stimulus comes into the amygdala portion of your brain, not that you need to know all these fancy terms, but it's going to go into something we call the hypothalamus. So the H is hypothalamus, and that's a center of your brain that handles a stress response. The messages then go to your pituitary, and that's the P. So the P is the pituitary portion. That's going to send a signal and hormones to your adrenal glands, and your adrenal glands will spring into action. And your adrenal glands are literally right on top of your kidneys, so right in your back, in your lower part of your back, where you have your kidneys, right on top is a little triangle-shaped organ called your adrenal glands, and they literally look like this, right on top. Your adrenal glands then send cortisol out to your body because it's a stress hormone. It's got to get your body ready to fight, because here's the thing, and we're going to talk about it in just a moment. We've got a couple of different responses we can take here, but your body's always going to take the response that is life-saving to it. It's always going to take its biggest threat. So once again, stimulus comes in, it goes into your hypothalamus. Hypothalamus sends a message to pituitary, and pituitary sends a message to adrenal glands. Now, not that I want to sit here and bore you with all the science behind this, but it's really important and critical to understand that this is going to have a very damaging effect on your body in the long run if we don't learn how to control it, because it's going to take precedence over another protective system that we have. So what happens is we have two protection systems. One protection system perceives external threats to the body. So once again, if we were in caveman times and we were about to get attacked by a saber-toothed tiger, you've got one reaction system. And then we also have internal protection systems. That's our immune system that we use to fight internal threats like bacteria and viruses and molds and funguses and things like that. So things that get into our body internally. Well, here's the problem with this. Most of the time, our body is going to prefer one system over the other. And what it's going to do is it's going to target and take care of one system at almost the expense of the other. So the first thing that happens pretty much with any stress response, so when your body is exposed to a stress, which once again, I named a lot of stresses in the beginning, who isn't exposed to stress, what it's going to do is spring into action. And the first thing that's going to happen is it's going to be the fight or flight reaction. So the fight or flight is your survival mechanism. This is the one that's going to prepare you to run. So in other words, if you're being attacked by the bear we talked about earlier, you're not going to think about, oh, wait a minute, did I leave the oven on at home, or did I leave the stove on? Oh shoot, I hope I got that email sent out. Your body's going to immediately fight. It's not going to worry about a bacteria or a virus that's coming into your system. It's going to want to run because the biggest threat is escape. The biggest threat is external, and it's going to want to get away from it. So this is your biggest thing. So your body will go to the fight or flight response, and it will send messages to the adrenals, and the adrenals will then send cortisol out to the body. Well, here's why this is so important. Because the internal system gets shut down. So what happens is when your body is perceiving an external threat, it's saying to itself, it's not important right now that I digest something. It's not important right now that I fight this virus or bacteria. It's not important that I go, neutralize this mold or this cancer cell. What's important right now is my survival, and I need to escape. So what your body does, it sends blood to preferred areas. Blood is then taken and sent to our arms and legs because it has to prepare you to fight. Well, in saying that, you have to ask yourself, well, then what are the non-preferred areas? Well, the non-preferred areas or not important areas at that moment are your immune system, your digestive system, your circulatory system, reproductive system, endocrine system. All these other systems are not as important at the moment because you need to run and you need to escape. So what happens is, it shuts all these other systems down. So blood is taken from those systems and sent to all the other ones. Nutrients are sent to all the other systems, like your arms and legs, because once again, you have to run. So what happens is our immune system gets compromised. So when we have stress in our lives on a daily basis, it's compromising our immune system because our body's perceiving it as an external threat, not the internal threats that we might have. So what happens? Well, this also has a damaging effect on the brain. Why? Because when your body is in a fight or flight response, It's looking at things and saying, you know what, what's the most important here? Is it more important that I actually think about what I'm going to do, or is it more important that I react to what I'm going to do? Well, think about this. If you're about to go off a cliff in a car, is it more important that you start to think, let me steer, let me do this, let me apply the brakes, oh my gosh, the hill is coming, the guardrail is approaching, I'm getting closer. No, you immediately jam on the brakes. Your body just instinctively starts to jam on the brakes and turn the wheel. So what happens is in a stress response, your body does more of what we call a reflex rather than a conscious decision. So your body will always go to the reflex first because it's the quickest. You don't have to think about it. So if a ball is coming at your face, you immediately duck or put your hands up or blink. It's a reflex response. You have almost like literally no control over it. You're not going to think, oh, I wonder if that ball coming at my face is a hard ball or a soft ball. I wonder if it's a Nerf. I wonder if, somebody could throw a piece of paper at you and you still might go like this because your body's immediate response is to protect, not analyze the object coming at you and go, I wonder what the weight of that piece of paper is. I wonder if there's an edge on it that might cut my eye. I wonder if it's, a softball, a baseball, or a hardball. No, it's just going to react. It's a reflex. So your reflexes come first. Well, what does that mean to your brain? Well, here's the thing. The portion of the brain in the front, which is your frontal cortex, the part that does a lot of your conscious thinking and thought, that gets shut down. Blood is taken away from this portion and sent to the limbic portion of your brain, which is right over here, which is your reflex response system. Well, why is that significant? Well, because think about this. Under a lot of stress, you start to make poor decisions. Your child makes poor decisions. Maybe you're not making good choices at work, or you kind of mess up a job proposal or something, and you're thinking, how did I do that? Why did I make that choice? What was I thinking about? I never would have done that normally. It's because your brain is not working in its normal capacity. Under a stress response, everything becomes more reflexive rather than conscious thought. And we see this a lot with patients in our office, especially the young kids who are under chronic anxiety. And a parent will bring them in saying they've got ADD or ADHD, and I'm saying, no, they don't. They really don't have that. There is brainwave or damage into the portion of their brain or abnormal brainwaves that control their anxiety, and that's why they have the issue. So that's the anxiety that's creating the improper decision making, the lack of memory. Maybe it's the impulsivity, but they don't have ADHD or ADD. They have an anxiety issue, which we have to then address in our office with something we call neurofeedback. But that's the big thing here. It has a stress effect on the brain also. Well, in nature, many times if you're watching National Geographic or some of these shows that have a lot of, natural animal situations, you see the lion chasing the zebra, and let's just say the zebra outruns the lion, or I've seen pictures where the zebra actually can kick the lion, and next thing you know, the lion goes flying, whatever it is, and it escapes. Once that zebra escapes, and that zebra's off grazing again, it forgets what's happened. It's just gone. It's then and gone. It's not even thinking about it anymore. It's not dwelling on it. It's not sitting there talking at the water, little water stream with his other zebra friends going, hey, Charlie, do you see that lion that attacked me? Man, I almost lunched right there. I don't know how I got away, but, I turned right, I juked him, he turned left, and I kicked him, and next thing I know, I'm gone, and man, I'm out of here. And last week I got chased by another tiger, another lion, whatever it is. They're not thinking about that. They forgot it. They move on. It's out of their consciousness. But in our society, we're always thinking about things. We're always thinking about our stresses. We don't let it go. We marinate. We just sit here cooking it for months, if not years. You'll sit and marinate over that person that did you wrong. And believe me, I did it myself. 15 years ago, or what my mother did to me 25, 30 years ago, it still bothers me. And, you start to marinate in all these problems. You start to, as I say, almost recut yourself. You just continue to cause internal wounds and internal injuries, and it just keeps lighting up and starting up this stress response that we don't ever break this cycle is the problem. So unlike animals that just forget about it, then move on, next thing you know, they're moving on to another pasture. We're dwelling and dwelling and dwelling on it. Then here's the other problem. Unlike animals, we have chronic stress all the time. Now, I hope you guys can see this okay. I know sometimes with the white background, it kind of blurs it out. But you've got things like fear, anxiety, savings accounts, worry. You might be thinking about, your 401k. You might have job deadlines, your overtime, sickness, stress, bill payments, headaches, Christmas coming up or other holidays coming up, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm overspending. Or in my case yesterday, I'll tell you a little thing that happened to me. This is real life stuff. Yesterday, I found out that someone had, I don't know how, gotten my debit card information. So next thing you know, I go to transfer some money. My daughter wants to go over and go to one of these restaurants with her friend, little pizzeria right in my area. And I'm transferring some money, and I'm looking at my account, and I'm going, whoa, where did almost $2,000 go? And sure enough, I start looking at it, and I'm like, oh, somebody took money out here at this store, which I won't name, for $712, and then there's another one at this other store for $1,079 or $1,089. And I'm sitting there going, what is going on here? So I'm immediately calling up my bank, and I'm sitting there on the phone with them saying, cancel my card, and and we need to dispute this and so on. So fortunately, my bank is good. I should get all that money back, but still, it created a stress. So that was a stress in my life yesterday. Or it may be a job that doesn't go the way you expected. Maybe you didn't get the contract you thought you were, or maybe you got fired, whatever it may be. Or maybe your kid's not doing well, or maybe you got a millennial that's home and living on your couch. I was watching the news this morning, and they said that 40% of all millennials are living on their parents' couch. It could be anything like that. It could be, once again, a sick child. So all these different things add up, and this is the problem. We are inundated with chronic stress. So where our body, in the beginning, when I was talking about the bear saying, hey, if a bear attacks you, you start to secrete cortisol, you start to raise your blood pressure, your pulse goes up, you start to flood your body with sugar, meaning you start to secrete hormones that release sugar into the body because you need it to fight or flight. You would start looking like you're a diabetic, you have high cholesterol, you have high blood pressure, like literally your lab results would look terrible. The problem is we're under chronic stress. So when you're under chronic stress, your body's always secreting cortisol. The blood pressure's always up. The pulse is always up. You always have high blood sugar. And instead of doing the things that bring this down, which we're going to get into some today, in fact, if you watch till the very end, I'm going to give you something, a tidbit that I give only to my patients that I've never talked about on live, Facebook Live, but we're going to talk about that today. So stick around to the very end, and we're going to give you some really cool little tips on what to do. But, we're always under this chronic stress, so we have to learn how to start to get rid of it, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But basically, there's three kinds of stress. There's physical, chemical, and emotional. And so we could take all those different stresses I was just talking about and boil them down into just three kinds of stresses. A physical stress to the body, which is an impact. Maybe you fell off a horse, maybe you had a car accident, maybe you had a bicycle injury when you were 6, maybe you crashed on a skateboard, maybe you fell in a cheerleading injury, maybe you were doing gymnastics or football. These are all physical. And by the way, it doesn't have to be all that past stuff. It could be the fact that you're on a computer like this now, or you're sitting here on your phone like this. It could be all of these different things. It doesn't have to be the typical, I was in a car accident and I went through the windshield. It's not that. It's all the new stresses we see, which are we call the micro stresses. Instead of macro, meaning you fell off a horse or dropped a refrigerator, the micro stresses are this kind of sustained position over a computer all day long, staring at your phone, things like that. Those are micro stresses. So physical stresses to the body, poor posture, poor sleeping habits, and so on. Chemical stresses are things like, food colorings, additives, dyes, preservatives, artificial sweeteners. One of the big things we see right now, a lot of people with what we call dysbiosis, which means they have problems with their gut, is caused by the fact that these artificial sweeteners like Splenda have chlorine in them. And so the chlorine is then killing the bacteria in your gut, which is also then interfering with your immune system. So we put artificial everything in our bodies, and if it's not a dye or coloring or preservative, we have all these fake foods. We don't even eat real food anymore, food the way God created it. And if you do eat something similar to that, where maybe you're eating a vegetable or something, it's grown in a faraway land where it wasn't even picked ripe, and it's just sent to us. And the land is all depleted of nutrients. Or it's an HMO, not HMO, GMO. I'm thinking insurance now, guys. Sorry about that. It's not HMO, it's GMO, genetically modified organism, where it's not even real food. It's been created by, say, Monsanto or one of these other companies in a laboratory, so it's not even really a tomato. It's something else. And the way to know, here's a little tip for you, the way to know if you're getting a GMO food is the code on it. That SKU number starts with an 8. 8 is a GMO, 9 is organic, and if it's a 4, which I'd hate to say that just pesticides are almost better now, a 4 means it's just created conventionally with pesticides and chemicals. 9 is organic, so nice little tip for you. And then the last one is emotional, and that's one we typically think about a lot because we're under all kinds of emotional stresses. Once again, the job deadlines, the kids, the spouse, the finances, the in-laws, whatever it may be, the holidays coming up, and oh my gosh, I have so many people coming to my house kind of thing. It could be all of this, but all these different things are stresses that we just don't escape from. These are 24/7. We have these in our body, in our lives all the time. So what can we do about it? Well, there's definitely things we could talk about. I'm going to skim across some basic ones now that we talked about initially in some past Facebook Lives. In fact, you can go back and look at it. I get into a little bit more detail there. In fact, one of them was healthy and happy for the holidays. But one of the things we can do is just take time for yourself. I find that so many of us never take time for ourselves anymore. And if that's you, on a little comment section, hit yes, that's me. So put that in there. So if that's you, then you got to take time for yourself. In fact, I was talking to my daughter the other day. She said in church they were talking about how to, I said, what did you guys learn today in your small groups? And they said, well, it's about not being selfish. I said, there's a big misconception about that. The problem is that we start to think that being selfish means you don't care about anybody else. You don't want to help anybody else. When in reality, I said to her, it's okay to be selfish. And I know you're probably thinking, oh, wait a minute, Dr. Nick, what are you talking about? It's okay to be selfish? Yeah, it's okay to be selfish sometimes because all it means is you're taking care of yourself. And here's the thing. If God created you to do a certain mission, a certain goal, a certain business, or whatever it may be, whatever your sole purpose is, if you're not taking care of yourself and you're saying, hey, I got to take care of everybody else, then you're not living to your true inner self. So you have to be selfish to an extent so that way you can help other people. If you don't take care of yourself, and I tell this to moms a lot, so if you're a mom out there, this is for you because you are some of the most selfless people that walk the planet. You take care of everybody else at the expense of yourself. And my mom was like this, and unfortunately she's not here anymore. She died of cancer about 26 years ago. So because she was selfless, she's not here anymore. And now generations, my kids, my wife, doesn't get to experience her. In fact, during the holidays at this time of the year, it would be one of the greatest times. She'd be out having lunch with my kids, taking them shopping, making cookies, doing all these great things, and she can't do that because she's not here. So moms, you got to take care of yourself because if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of everybody else. So please take care of yourself first. So once again, what can you do? Meditation. It's probably one of the best things you can do because meditation just shuts your mind off. How many of us, minds are just going and going and going and going and going and they never shut down? In fact, you go to bed at night and your wheels are still turning. So if that's you, put yes in the comment section. You've got to shut the mind down. And this was one of the hardest things for me because my mind doesn't shut down. I'm either thinking of a song or something I need to do. But you've got to meditate. When you meditate, you reconnect your soul back in your spirit. So you're reconnected to your source. It's one of the best things you can do. You shut everything out and you just get into what we call the alpha theta phase of your brain waves. And we do this a lot in our office with patients on something called deep states. And deep states is a tremendous protocol that we do where patients will have their eyes closed, they'll have earphones on, and they're listening to sound waves that bring their brain waves down into that meditative state. And at the same time, they have a sensor right on top of their head measuring their brain waves. And when the sensor picks up that they're in the proper brain waves, the meditative state, everything's good. But if they start to go a little too deep and start to fall asleep, it wakes them up. Gently, just a little ringing in their ears, and it wakes them up. And it keeps them right in that state of perfect bliss. And we'll have patients that'll say, man, what was I out for hours? I can't believe it. I'm so refreshed. I'm so relaxed. I came in anxious, and all of a sudden now I'm feeling great again. So that's what we call deep states. But meditation at home will do that too. It's just that in the office we can measure it precisely. and keep you right in that perfect state. But a relaxing bath will help. Just put some bubbles in the bath or Epsom salts, whatever you like, essential oils. You can put that in your bath and take a relaxing bath. Maybe put a little TV there or something and watch something motivational or inspirational, or just put on some quiet music, some jazz or whatever it is. Do some yoga. I've mentioned in the past, I've done yoga, and I did it with P90X, and the yoga I did was never relaxing because I always felt like I was going to fall over. But for people who are good at it, and you could do very calming type yogas, it's a great thing. It centers you better. It gets you balanced. So yoga is a fantastic thing. Gratitude, I always say that you cannot be upset if you're always counting your blessings. If you're always thinking about what you're grateful for, you can't be upset because it's impossible to be happy and sad at the same time. So what I always tell my patients, and I do it to myself, is focus on what you want in life, not what you don't want. You can use maybe what you don't want as the opposite, so you know exactly what you do want. But if you focus on what you want in life, your goals, your aspirations, your desires, what things you love, rather than thinking up scenarios in your head of things you don't want, focus on what you do want. It's a whole lot better, and that's got a lot to do with prayer and gratitude. And once again, the essential oils, you can put them on different parts of your body, or you can put them in a bath or something like that. All right, touch quickly on benefits of sleep. And once again, like I said, I did this in one of my past seminars, but benefits of sleep help the immune system. This is one of the few times of the day where you're literally shut down. Your brain shuts down, your body shuts down, and it gives it the time to replenish. Now, everybody needs different amounts of sleep. I'm best with about 6 hours. 5 is about my minimum, but 6 I do really well on. If I get into 7, 7 is too much. I actually wake up more tired and more groggy. So do what's best for you, and you know your sleep patterns. You might not need 12. A lot of people are like, oh, I need 12 hours of sleep. It's probably not that much. But, a good amount is anywhere from 6 to 8 hours is a good amount. So get plenty of sleep because it improves your immune system, gives your body time to heal. You secrete growth hormone at night. It usually around 1 or 2 in the morning is when most growth hormone is secreted, and that helps your body heal and repair. Reduces depression. I could tell you this from experience that when, wife doesn't get sleep, it's not good. So we have to make sure the wife gets plenty of sleep. But that goes for men too. I'm not trying to sound, male chauvinist here. Improves performance, makes you more alert, sharpens attention, boosts creativity. Once again, when you're asleep, a lot of times people will come up with great ideas. They'll wake up with some kind of inspiration, then they'll write it down. A lot of people keep a notepad by their bed and they'll just write down something inspirational that happens to them. Improves memory, extends lifespan. I mean, that makes perfect sense. In fact, a lot of research and studies have been done on that people that tend to sleep a little longer, and once again, we're not talking about 14 hours a day, but if you sleep a little longer, your body's got more time to heal, replenish, and repair, and the stress dissipates. Reduces stress, of course, and loses weight because the hormones ghrelin and leptin, especially ghrelin, is the hormone that helps us to lose weight. So you want to have more ghrelin, in your body, which tells your body not to eat so much. So very, very good there. Now, another thing we talk about too within our office is the importance of keeping the immune system healthy. And why is that? The nerve system. Why is that so important? Well, because your nerve system controls everything. So stress tends to take your nerve system and just make it into knots. It's like taking a towel, like a washcloth, and just tightening and tightening and tightening and tightening it. It's almost like your nerve system's in knots. And a lot of people will say, man, I'm going to have a nervous breakdown because your spine, your nerve system, your whole body is just literally, shot because of all the stress it's under. So one of the best things we could do to reduce stress is make sure that you're getting, in our office, we always tell our patients, so if you're watching this and you're one of my patients, make sure you're getting regular chiropractic care, not just when things hurt. That's damage control. That's just reaction. You want to be proactive in making sure you're keeping your spine and nerve system healthy all the time. It's the system that controls your entire body. So for your heart to beat and lungs to breathe, for your liver to make, bile, for your intestines to absorb nutrients, for your kidneys to filter your blood, for your intestines to also be able to eliminate waste, reproductive organs to work properly, you've got to make sure your nerve system's working properly. And that means your brain is sending 100% messages out to your body at 100%. Any interference with that will cause sickness and disease in your body. And what we see here in the nerve system is a healthy nerve system This is what stress will do to it. So when you have stress on a healthy nerve system, it starts to cause damage to the nerve system. Damage to the top of the neck, especially up here, right here, causes pressure on the brainstem. So the portion of your brain right here, when you come off your hard skull to the soft spot, that's where your brainstem is. So it can cause disruption to the blood supply to your brain. So we talked about that earlier. That impairs cognitive thought, and it keeps your body in a chronic state of stress to where it's sending messages to the reflex or limbic system. So your body's always in this chronic stress response, causing supply to be diminished to the brain, causing concentration problems, sleeping disorders, and more importantly, decreased immune system function. That when you have stress on your nerve system, chronically, this condition can lead to inflammatory disorders such as asthma, allergies, sinus issues, colds and flu, headaches, migraines, heart disease, and even cancer. So because the nerve system is what controls, so the nerve sends messages to your heart, the nerve sends message to your lungs, your thyroid, and all your organs. If there's any dysfunction there or any interference there, these organs shut down. So if you guys are, like I said, patients of mine, or if you're watching this and you're in another state, make sure you get checked out by a chiropractor. Well, why is that so important? Because the nerve system is what's controlling every cell, every tissue and organ in your body. So if you've got chronic stress that's impeding or impairing your nerve system, more importantly, you're going to have organ systems failing. You're going to have organs shutting down. So when you go to a chiropractor, it's not about back pain. It's not about neck pain. It's not about, I got a twinge in my low back that's giving me sciatica. It's about making sure that your body's got the optimal healing potential between your brain and your body. And the connection line is your nerve system. The connection line is your spinal cord and nerves. And if there's interference there, your brain can't possibly cope with stress and help your body heal and function normally. So your immune system breaks down. And not only that, studies have shown that after a chiropractic adjustment, there's a 200% increase in immunoglobulin levels within 24 to 36 hours. So your body actually is turbocharged. So when patients come in our office, in fact, my office manager just brought in her daughter, recently the other day because they thought she had strep throat. So normally they'd be running off right away and get antibiotics done, but instead what I said was, no, listen, let's get her adjusted. Strep throat is a self-limiting disease anyway. It's going to be here between 7 to 10 days, so you don't need to run off. And I know everybody's thinking, well, what about rheumatic heart fever or heart damage? It's a very specific kind of strep called beta hemolytic strep, so you don't have to worry about it because it's extremely rare. But here's the thing. If you get to a good chiropractor who knows how to adjust the spine and nerve system, you could actually help turbocharge your immune system to help fight it off better. And that's the best thing you can do, because then you're not putting anything into the body. You're not giving the body any artificial drugs or stimulants or anything. You're helping the body heal itself. And when it heals itself, it has a memory. And that memory helps the body then to fight it again another day. It helps to strengthen the immune system and build it. So when you've got those tough fights later on, your body knows exactly what to do. So here's one of the biggest things. Now, like I said, if you wait till the end, I'm going to get to some good stuff, because this is one of the biggest things I find creates stress in people's lives. And I will tell you this, in my life, and in so many people I deal with, so many patients I consult with, and in our office, I do a lot more than just take care of their spine and nerve system. And a lot of my patients, I'm their coach, whether it be mentally, physically, spiritually. I try to do all that for my patients. We want to be the total health facility that I've always wanted to create in our community. But here's the thing. One of the biggest problems I see that creates stress in people's lives, and if this is you, you know what I'm talking about, is an incongruency. It's an incongruency that you feel like you're supposed to be doing more than you are. If that's you, I know. It's an incongruency that you feel like you have a sole purpose that God created you to do, that you were created to do great things, and you're not there. You're not living it. Somehow, hold on a second. Let me fix this. Right up, it gets to the good stuff, and all of a sudden, we almost fade out here. Let's put this back on. Come on. Hold on. Don't go away, guys. It's going to be good. There we go. All right. All right. So here's the thing. How many of you feel like there's this giant canyon between your reality, what you're living right now, and what your goals are? That's a huge, chasm, I guess is the word, to pass. How many of you feel like, you know what, this is where I am now, I'm stuck in a dead-end job, I'm not happy in my relationships, I'm not living my soul purpose, I'm not living to what God created for me to be, but my soul is screaming out over here at my goals. I can see them, I know I want them, but I'm afraid to go after them, I'm afraid to get them. So the biggest thing that I find in people's lives that creates these stresses is that you didn't create the life you want. Or how many of you say this, I never knew my life was going to turn out this way. I was expecting different. I wanted it to be a different way. Why do you think so many, and I'm going to pick on guys for a moment here, why do you think so many guys have their midlife crisis? Because they're not living to where they thought they were going to be. At 50, I thought I was going to be this successful. I thought I was going to have this kind of car. I thought I was going to have the most beautiful wife. I thought my kids were going to be this. I was going to have a boat. I was going to have a beach house. I was going to have a mountain house, whatever it was. And as a result, you're still, oh my gosh. I must not have a good signal right now, guys, because it keeps cutting off. Hold on. Bear with me, guys. There we go. That's got to be it. I must not have a good signal or something. So how many of you are over here in your reality and you're looking at what you thought your life was supposed to turn out? Moms could be the same way. You start to get discontent in your relationship, and next thing you know, you're looking somewhere else. Guys, same way. Next thing you know, you're looking for a different, fling or something, or you might have an affair. Let's be real here. This is what really happens. Because your reality is not where you think you're supposed to be. So you hit that 50, or maybe women it's 40, and next thing you know, you're starting to look out to greener pastures. Maybe it's going to be better over there. Maybe that guy would be better for me. And you start looking elsewhere. And I'm not saying it, that it's not partially a spouse's fault, because maybe they've gotten lax in a relationship too. But in many of our cases, we don't have the job we want, but we don't want to leave it because it's the only job we know, and we've got to pay the bills, we've got to keep up. If I quit this job, I remember a friend of mine telling me many years ago, he says, don't do things like our dads did. He said, don't do something that you get a job just because it puts food on the table or feeds your kids or puts clothes on them or puts a roof over their head. Do something you truly enjoy. Do something you truly love. So I found out that I wanted to be a chiropractor, a doctor of chiropractic, which is natural health and healing, when I was about 14 years old. So I'm fortunate in that I knew what I wanted to do at a very early age. But so many of us might have this dream that's still inside their hearts. Your soul purpose is still in there, to open up your own business, to start another job. Maybe it's to open up a new shop or whatever it is. Maybe it's to paint. Maybe it's to travel. But somehow you are separated from your reality. Well, here's the problem. All of this is a lot of BS. Now, don't turn off. Don't turn me off and say, well, I can't believe he said that. This is all BS. It is. It's a lot of BS. It really boils down to this. Your things you're doing in your life, the fact that you're not living to your full life potential is really just boils down to all BS. And what I mean by that is this. Come on. Oh my gosh. It's your belief system. I am having technical difficulties. In fact, I tried to get on a little earlier on, and I couldn't get on. It must be a bad Wi-Fi signal. Anyway, it's all your belief system, guys. It's all the stuff that's in your head. It's the record that you're playing. It's the tape that you're playing. It's that song, that same old song that you can't amount to this. You can't have that. You can't reach this goal. You're not good enough. Who are you to think you're smart enough? Who do you think you can have that? Honestly, and I'll tell you what, from a religious standpoint, guys, let's be real. This is something we all experience because we have to feel like we have to suffer like everybody else. We have to feel like, well, who am I to be successful when there are people who aren't? Who am I to have this nice house or car or whatever when it's other people that aren't. So many times we hold ourselves back because we don't want to look like we're greedy or we're rich, and oh, that's a bad thing. Don't want to say that. Well, that's a horrible thing, because when you do have money, when you do have things, you can help more other people. You know, I always say that, you know, when you're trying to help someone who's poor, it's not good that you're poor. You could always help more people if you have some wealth to help them with. You're always better off. Raise everybody up. So our belief system, what we've been taught to believe all these years, is the problem. You maybe were told by your mom or your dad, you'll never amount to anything. You're going to be a loser. You can't do this. You can't do that. No, 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 no. And instead of empowering you to say, hey, listen, you know what? Where you are now isn't where you're going to be all the time. This is just where you are right now. It's like a GPS system. A GPS system, if you plug in, you know, where you want to go, and you want to travel from here to Los Angeles, the GPS system doesn't say, but where were you yesterday? You know, you got lost yesterday. You know, you made that wrong turn yesterday. No, the GPS system just says, okay, where do you want to go today? So where you are now is just an indicator of where you've been and decisions you made in the past. You can make new decisions, new choices, and change your belief system to something new and better. And then you just go forward from here. Because all of life is based on perceptions. It's your perception of what's going on. So one of the biggest things I can give you guys today is think about your perception. When something happens in your life, there's a perception attached to it, and it's typically connected to your belief system. So your belief system may be that if somebody lets you down, well, they're just liars, they're cheats, they are just out to get you, they're out to ruin you. As opposed to, well, maybe they had something come up in their life, maybe they had a situation happen. You know, I told somebody yesterday that I was going to call them, and I wasn't able to because of the bank situation that I had to go through. And then I called them today, or sent a message today, and I said, listen, sorry about not getting back to you yesterday, but this is what happened. And his response to me was, hey, man, I hear, sorry about that. I feel for you. I hope you get that straightened out. But if the first thing we think of is a negative response, our perception is negative, we are going to create a different situation or a different outcome. So guys, what I want you to do is think of this equation, and I give this to all my patients. And the equation is E plus R equals O. Okay? Now, this stands for very specific things. E stands for event. What happened in your life? Was it a job loss? Was it a death in the family? Was it, you know, in my case, when my mom passed away? I'll talk about that in just a moment. That's an event. Is it that your child had an accident? Is it maybe a job transfer? Whatever it may be. Is it a divorce? It could be anything. That's an event that happens in your life. The R is, do you respond or do you react? Two very different things. A response is a positive thing. A reaction is a negative thing. And then O is your outcome. So here's how it works, guys. You get to choose the R. You get to choose what you want to perceive something. How do you perceive it? Do you perceive it as bad? When my mom passed away, this was back in 1990. When my mom passed away, I had different ways I could have perceived it. She was just destroyed by cancer. So when I got the news and started flying back home to go to my mom's funeral, I started doing a lot of soul searching right on the airplane. And on the airplane, I started saying to myself, well, how can I look at this? I could look at this in a way that will empower me or a way that will disempower me. If I look at it in a way that it empowers me, I get a better outcome. So what did I do? I started thinking to myself, wow, I had 26 great years with my mom. My mom was my best friend. My mom was just the best person in the world to me. Had a great relationship, very loving relationship. Do I have any regrets? No, my mom knew I loved her, and we just had a great, tight relationship. She would write to me when I was in school. I would call her all the time. You know, I would be up late with her before I went away to school, and we would talk all night and just sit there with a cup of coffee and kind of share life experiences. I had a great relationship with her. A lot of kids don't have that relationship. Maybe other kids lost both their parents, or never knew their mom, or never knew their dad, or they were killed tragically in a car accident, or maybe they were killed when they were 3 or 4 years old, or maybe mom or dad left them, maybe they were an orphan. I started looking at it, and I started saying to myself, how am I going to respond or react to this? And I started looking at things in a better light. I started looking at things better. Because when you look at things in a more responsive way, as opposed to reactive, think about this. If somebody says you took a medication and you had a reaction to it, that's a bad thing. You don't want to react to something, but when you respond to something, it's a much more empowering thing. So all you have control over, guys, is the R. You have no control over events. You have every bit of control of how you perceive the event. So everything coming in from your outside world, you can perceive it in such a way that it is responsive. If a job didn't go the way I wanted it to, or the way I planned it, I said, okay, well, you know what? Maybe there's something better around the corner. Maybe there's a better situation coming. Maybe there's God's got a better plan for me. So one of the things I always say to God is, if this is your will, I know, you've put this in my heart to have this, or something better. Maybe he says, you know what, that house that you were trying to bid on, the house that you wanted, that you put a down payment on or whatever, and somebody took it from you, there's a better house around the corner. Your dream house that you didn't see yet, you turned down this road and there's that dream house. You didn't even know it existed, but somehow you were told to go down that road that one day, and next thing you know, you see the dream house you've really been looking for. So guys, this is what happens. So a lot of times you lose a job and you're thinking, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. This is catastrophic to me. But maybe you weren't happy in that job anyway. Maybe for years you've been wanting to get out of that job, but you just didn't have the guts to. Well, you know what? The universe is going to help you out the door. The universe is going to say, you know what? That job's gone. Here's the new one. Now you can start to look at your new job. Maybe the relationship didn't work out the way you wanted to because there's a better one around the corner. So you always have to look at things and how you respond, because your response is the key. It's all about the R, and it's all about your perception. Now, guys, here's something I want to kind of give you a little tidbit coming up. In upcoming seminars, we're going to do something about how your perception can actually change your DNA. And that's all about the science of epigenetics, and we're going to get into that because your choices and your genes, your genes are not your destiny. You can actually change your genes, and it's all based on perception. So we talked about perception as to how it affects your life in general, your decisions, your choices, your stress levels. But the interesting thing about perception is it also can affect your DNA, which means that it can affect your entire life and how your body works from the inside. So we're going to talk about that. Keep an eye out for that. That's coming up. Anyway, guys, wrapping it up, I appreciate you being here. And once again, if you guys like what we talked about, other than the little technical glitch we had, if you liked what we talked about, please like it. Give it a heart. But more importantly, share it. If you get this information out, other people can benefit from it. They might need to know how their body reacts to stress or responds to stress. So once again, guys, thanks for being here. I love and appreciate you. Have a great Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and follow us. If you like what we're talking about, follow us. That way you get notifications. So you can also follow us at Total Health Solutions at Facebook, Total Health Solutions with my name, Dr. Nick Sedano. Or you can email us. If you have any questions, you can always email me live at drsedano.com, and I'll be more than happy to get your questions answered. You can put them in the comment bar down there, and I'll be more than happy to answer them there too. So thanks again, guys. I love and appreciate you. Like, follow, and share it. Have a great, great Christmas and happy holidays. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.